Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, the doo-dah day.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Dan Hollifield, and welcome to Last Man Standing. There's no real topic tonight. Stupid O'Clock was a lot of fun. Went all over the place. Not in the way a incontinent dog would do, but kind of drifted all over the place. Uh, Various topics, and that's what we do best on Stupid O'Clock is wander from topic to topic and never make a lick of sense in anything we say, just being as entertaining as we know how. And with me tonight, we got Aunt Donna, we got Dawn. It's a possibility that Rich might be here later. His beloved had a difficult day at work today, and he went off when she got home to spend time with her, as one naturally should do. Um, and he may be back, he may not. We do not know, and we wish him well in either case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's helping Misty. He'll be in a few. Okay. Once again, YouTube has not given me a link to my own show, so I'm having to look at the comments and read them instead of being able to reply to them like I do on Stupid O'Clock through the YouTube app on my iPad. Because I have ops in Stupid O'Clock, and here, if I reply to a chat, it comes out multiple times, as many as there are destinations the show is being streamed to, which annoys me to no end, but that's the way the system works, so I will have to deal within those established rules. And we all know how I feel about established rules, do we not, ladies?
Mm-hmm. So you
And
still in one
Dawn,
piece over there, Dawn?
Am I what?
Still in one piece?
Yeah, trying to
Oh yeah.
be.
Oh yes, but she's a bad girl.
Oh,
I
God.
thought
What
you wanted
Carl,
that.
that's what Carl called her.
Oh.
Yeah. Today's
Girl's gonna
storm
have
was
her
fun.
secret. The what?
Today's storm was fun. We were out in it.
Oh.
Yeah, we had hoped to get back home. Charlotte Charco needed her booster shot, her yearly booster shot.
Hmm.
And it didn't look good as we went down the street and saw all the lights going out. We waited in the car. We were about 40 minutes early for her appointment, and the lights were still out, and the lights stopped, and the water was pouring down, and the wind was so bad that it was shaking the van. That I finally ran in and said, "Do you want me to just take my cat and go back home?" Which I would have totally understood.
Under the
But
circumstances.
yeah, that when they found out she was just there for a booster shot, they said, "Oh no, bring her in." Fortunately, they had a door that was closer to where the van was than the front door, so they let Carl in there. He rolled a gurney out into the front foyer, which has uh, nothing but windows and two big glass doors, so they had light out there and did a quick exam of her ears, etc., by flashlight and gave her a little shot. Had to chase her around the little room because they
Little
let her
foyer.
loose.
Hmm.
I chose to stay on the other side of the door and let Carl be the bad guy.
At least you give
Yes.
As
Carl
you
that
do.
option. I have to be the bad one with George or with Buddy and Georgette all the time.
Yeah, but Carl is Charcoal's favorite parent. And I
So
have
he'll be
oh
forgiven eventually.
he was forgiven probably half hour after we got home. And then had to turn off the street that the vet's office was on because at the end of it where we would have turned. Not sure what was happening, but there were cops directing traffic. Turned down one street, could only go one block because the next block was blocked by a tree. Turned back north. That street had a tree in the street, but there was enough room to go around it.
Damn, the trees up there can't drive worth shit.
No, they
Yep.
can't because there was one that Ted he had to kind of go a different way coming home because there was a tree across one of the roads.
Oh, Vermilion Street coming up. I mean, we were like uh, 15 blocks from the main east-west street, and I mean, Vermilion. It was tree lined, and I don't mean along the side of the streets. There were huge branches that had been knocked off and were in the street.
Hmm. I've seen storms like that before. That may be one of the reasons why a lot of the people down here that actually drive pickup trucks because they need a pickup truck and not for
Hmm.
style will have a winch on the front and not the pirate kind. Um, and they'll also have a chainsaw
Hmm.
behind the truck seat. Then they'll just get out and saw the trees up and drag them off the side of the road like we ain't waiting on the county road commission to take care of this. We're going that away. And I don't care what we got to go through. I don't care if there's a redwood from California that fell over. We're going to saw it in half and get it out of the way.
Oh yeah. My best friend, whose chickens we watch when they're on vacation. Their driveway is a good half mile long, very narrow, trees
Mhm.
on both sides. And we went back one day and there was a tree across the road. We finally got it moved, the two of us, but now we take the baby chainsaw saw with us, keep it in the van whenever we have to go down there,
You
just
got
in
one of those.
case.
You got one of those little battery powered ones,
Mm-hmm.
about the size of
Not yay
a
big.
drill. Oh no, you that one's bigger. Yeah. I got Lindsay
That's what
one
she
that's
said.
I got Lindsay one that's about the size of a drill motor. Just
Yeah,
a one-handed chainsaw.
he wouldn't let me have that one.
Yeah, well, he irritates you a lot. That's why.
I
self
said, hey,
Self preservation is a thing.
that's true. Well, I heard the winds were 70 mile per hour, and I've heard they were 80, but they were those straight line winds, and they did a lot of damage.
Yeah,
I'm
They can do
surprised
this.
we have power back so soon.
I'm
different
surprised
areas.
we didn't lose power. They lost power across the street from us. We're on two separate
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
lines, and it's funny
We've
because
got
if
that here.
one, because if I don't know why it does this, but if one of us loses power, the other one doesn't. You would think, even though we're on two separate lines, it's kind of funny because it's like, oh, they lost power, we'll be fine, and vice
We
versa.
we
Not
had a
that it's
power pole next
good.
to one of my neighbor's driveway, just
Mm-hmm.
split
Ooh.
for no reason anybody can figure out. The power pole just went blat and fell. The half the neighborhood lost power. The other half was on a different circuit and didn't lose power. We've had
Well,
that happen several times around here. Like there was an instance where um, a young gentleman in a very tiny pickup truck spilled his milkshake on the floor of his truck and reached down to try and prevent same and went off the side of the road and up the guy wire of the power pole for my
oh,
house. And the transformer went pop, and half the neighborhood was without power, and the other half still had power. It's two different circuits. Um, that poor boy, the power company charged him for, I think, the pole, the transformer, 6 trucks, a supervisor, and some heavy equipment. And the cops tested him to make sure he hadn't been drinking.
mm-hmm.
Luckily for him, he hadn't been drinking.
Only milkshake.
Only a milkshake, and I'm willing to bet he hadn't had
Right.
another milkshake since then that wasn't in the restaurant. There ain't no take home milkshakes for this boy.
And if something falls on the floor, just let it fall.
Hey, that's what they make shop vacs at the car wash for.
Well, almost all of Vermilion County lost power. So we're talking about,
That's pretty big.
well, there's 40,000 people in Danville alone.
It got pretty missed out.
Mm-hmm. And
That's the professional term.
yeah,
Hmm. Well, the power outage we had yesterday, uh, I do believe the transformer that blew up was at the electric membership corporation that we had our power from, rather than being one of those on a pole. This was one of the
mm-hmm.
big ones. And we had one of those blow up at work one day. And you're talking $5 million worth of transformer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know how much the one that blew out last night uh, cost to replace, but there were about maybe 10,000 homes inconvenienced by a power outage. Naturally, Lindsay and I are sitting here going, okay, which oil lamps are we going to use tonight? Because we got plenty. I had
Yeah.
I had two fired up here. I put one in the bathroom. Uh, I got one off of the bar shelves in the living room, dining room, and put it on the little shelf in between the living room and the dining room. I had a couple of candles fired up in front of the big picture mirror in the living room, so they got their light reflected. The one in the bathroom, I put it where Lindsay's little antique makeup mirror that she loves so much. I mean, she did a marvelous job replacing that. When she bought it, it was just a frame, but she found an oval mirror that would fit in it, and she made it work. Um, she does not give herself enough credit for being the handy woman that she is. It had that where it would be reflected off the wall behind us, and then reflected off of the mirrors of the medicine cabinet over the sink. So bathroom was well lit. She decided she's going to leave that lamp in there in a safer location for ordinary
For the
days.
use.
Yep. And if we need it, it's right there. It was just on a shelf back here, and I just light it up and put it wherever in the house we need it. It was just being stored back here on the top of my desk. But we learned a long time ago, oil lamps and candles are necessary household items.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I grew up with oil lamps in all my elder relatives' homes. And every time there was a blizzard or something in the Smoky Mountains, which is not trivial, those things got used. And I go,
Hmm.
hey, this has some utilitarian purpose. This is not just a decoration.
Yeah. Well, I can't use oil lamps because I'm allergic to petroleum products, but I've got some beautiful candelabras
Mm, yeah,
that
Mention
come
well,
in
you
handy.
have a little Calby Welby that would try to burn the house down.
He never even tried to get up on the table where
Now you
it was.
just jinxed it. Okay, anyway, sorry.
I was surprised, but yeah, he's never even.
I
He's
heard
like,
a ping, and Richie's here.
"There's Rich."
Is Misty all right now?
Yeah, she just had a very stressful day, and then because she's tired, because she's hurting, um, instead of making her do the gymnastics to unleash the girls, I was sitting waiting for her to finish brushing her teeth and doing everything so that I could unhook her bra for her, so that she didn't have to hurt herself anymore or do any more stretching to the fabric that does its damnedest to try to keep those things contained.
Hmm.
Well, some sacrifices have to be made. I mean, the
Yeah.
dutiful husband is always prepared to undo that clasp
Yep.
Well, you got to
at the
keep in
drop of a
practice.
hat.
You got to keep in practice.
Yep. So
I-
that's what I had to give her a hand with, after at show change. So
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I want somebody to invent a real sonic screwdriver so I can go across the room and go, and those things pop. Just go ahead and undo the clasp. Would have come in
So-
handy in high school, let me tell you. But
I have to ask you guys what you think of my business idea. So the other day I was
you're giving
eating-
us the business. Okay.
I was eating walnuts and almonds that were not salted. And what I do is I put them in a little sandwich baggie with a few drops of water and some very fine salt, like a popcorn salt or whatever, and shake them about, and then put them in like a little Chinese food container, the oblong one, plastic one, so that it gets the maximum airflow over it so that they actually dry out. And then that made me wonder, like, maybe I should actually open a snack business, and then call it Big Dick's Salty Nuts.
I knew that was coming.
Wouldn't you love to put them in your mouth?
With the Renaissance Fair in Minnesota, they can't do it anymore, but the girls used to walk around going, would you like some of the king's nuts?
Well, here's the thing. I used to
Have to play it off of that whole thing.
I used to keep 2 walnuts in their shell in my pocket. This was after I got married, and the only person I did this to was Misty. But we'd be out and about somewhere, and I'd pull them out of my pocket, and I'd lean over and very loudly whisper to my wife, "You want to feel my nuts?" And then people would look around, and they would see I have a handful of walnuts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Uh-huh.
No, can't tell I'm the baby. Can't tell I'm the instigator.
Oh, no.
Not the green one. Not the green one.
No, but I do have fond childhood memories of going out into the woods and collecting walnuts, beech nuts, pecans,
I just hurt myself.
and lots of other varieties of things. Taking them home.
Oh.
Cracking everything open, putting the you're gonna hurt yourself again, Donna. The nut meat on a tray. It's the technical term, actually.
I'm still working off going out in the woods.
Hey,
Going out in the woods to take care of his nuts.
well, to collect a few. Nowadays, I just go online and they appear.
Not the green room. Not the green room.
Really, Dan, you went there.
Well,
Went there, opened up the gift shop, selling T-shirts.
oh,
Okay.
and we take the harvest to the house, put everything on a tray, put butter on them, salt them, put them in the oven.
Lubing up your nuts. Making sure they're all salty.
And we would sit around as a family and enjoy hot roasted nuts. It was a very 50s thing, even though it happened in the 60s.
I was going to say, it sounds like more like a 60s thing.
Yeah. Well, the neighbors weren't invited. It was all
Don't
the
you,
family.
don't you love my salty nuts?
Seriously, y'all have taken an innocent memory of a fun childhood event, shared with the whole family, and turned it into something Caligula would probably go, don't you think
You
that's a bit
have
much?
met us, right?
That's like priming the pump there, Dan. And
Yeah, really. Can I have a second helping for my horse? Okay, people that don't understand history will never get that line. Oh Lord, no. One of the childhood memories was going to Sears, where they had the candy counter right by the front door. You walk in, you smell roasted nuts.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Holy
And
cow!
there was all kinds of candy there to keep the kids, all
The
three of us
roasting
kids, quiet.
nuts, the fresh popcorn.
Oh yes, yes. Whichever snack each of the three of us desired most, my parents would buy us, the small portion because we were tiny, and that way they could get their shopping done while we stuffed our faces with treats. And
And because you get candy and you're eating your candy or whatever your snack choice was,
yep, yep.
your mind is on the tasty sweets or whatever snack you're having in front of you. Because in
For me,
case it's the nuts or popcorn, it'd be more savory.
mhm.
You're thinking about that and not the toy department.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And my parents would be walking around shopping, and they'd go, "Where's Dan?" Okay,
He's not.
Nope.
we
He's with the
know
books.
where he is. Nope, there wasn't a book department. There was a color TV section,
Ah.
and they were always playing Johnny Quest. So when my parents couldn't find me, they knew, find the color TVs. He's sitting in the floor watching cartoons.
Eating his nuts.
Yep, if
Your
I had any left by
your
that time.
your
I'm
Sears
obsessed with
stores must have been way different than mine.
These were in Knoxville, and they were not really huge.
Oh,
Uh, they had a wide variety of things, but not many of any particular item. Just a lot of variety on different shelves had this, this, and the store was full of tiny little pockets of things to buy.
our Sears was pretty good size. You went in one door, and that was the ladies' department.
I'll order three.
Well, all the way. I mean, we're talking the size of a regular store for just the ladies' department.
Mm.
When you go through, you can go through, and there would be the men's. I think upstairs was the furniture, and downstairs was the toys.
Well, Knoxville
I
had
only
two.
got taken into the ladies' side, and I never, and you could get lost in it, and I never knew how to get to the TVs or the the toys. I didn't know how to get to the bathroom though, which had the most wonderful cinnamon smell.
Richie had the sixth sense on how to navigate the Sears store. Um,
Oh, mm-hmm.
Downstairs, Sears had two entrances downstairs, one by automotive and tools, and the other was by appliances and furniture. And then um, the entrance out to the mall proper, because ours was part of an actual larger mall.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interior mall, not the exterior malls that a lot of other places have. Um, Men's department was upstairs, exit out to the regular mall. Ladies' department was downstairs, exit to the regular mall.
Now see, when Sears was at the mall, it was set out pretty much like that, only just the one floor. But when it was downtown, it was a huge, huge building. Uh, One way in through the back, and that also led to the automotive department, which was a separate building, and then two entrances in the front. One that led to the ladies' wear, and one that led to the men's wear.
Yep.
And our toy department was downstairs in between appliances and tools. So basically, Daddy can shop for his toys, Mama can shop for his toys, and babies can shop for their toys in between. There's a buffer.
Yeah.
Yep. The toy department in the Sears in Athens, after we moved down here from Tennessee, except for Christmas, was upstairs, and it was kind of wimpy, really tiny compared to the rest of the store.
Oh, I was going to say, buy me a
At
toy today, and I'll
Christmas,
pay you
they
on Tuesday.
turned the entire basement of the store into a huge Santa's Grotto toy shop.
Yes.
It was awesome. Now the ones up in Tennessee, they were, well, nowadays you'd call it part of a strip mall, but there weren't very many other stores there. It was just the one big store and a couple little shops on either side. Could have been anything, but not the kind of variety you see in what we think of as strip malls today. But basically, it was everybody went there to go to the big store, and the little stores on the side were like remoras, picking up the excess dropped by the big store. So it was a good concept. I mean, they weren't. There was a bit of a distance in between them, but they weren't cheek by jowl by any stretch of the imagination.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
We
Yeah,
didn't go.
these were all one floor in Tennessee, Chris. It wasn't until I got to Athens that I discovered they've got a basement. And like I said, unless it was Christmas, the basement was a basement. It was not part of the regular store. They only unlatched the doors at Christmas time.
But it's all bad children.
All the children, whether they were good or bad, let them go down the steps. They'll be prowling around down there for hours. They're not bright enough to take shopping carts down the steps. They can't pick out their own stuff. And we don't have to pay for anything they pick up off the shelves. They just got to put them back on the shelf if we don't want them. The real eye opener in Knoxville was the Zayres, because it used to be some kind of factory mill. I mean, it was a great big old huge wooden barn of a place with, instead of shelves, it had bins made of plywood. And when the announcement came on the PA, there was a blue light special on something. If you got in between the little old grannies and that shelf, you got trampled. Those ladies were, they shop the way sharks feed.
Are you sure you're talking about Zare?
Yep.
With the blue light? Because Kmart had the blue light, and they were pretty proprietary about calling the specials blue lights. Ours there in town was not allowed to call.
Back in the 60s in Tennessee, it was share and share alike. So they weren't litigious.
Yeah.
Our Zares had a blue light, but they didn't call them blue light specials. Only our Kmarts called them blue light specials.
Yeah.
Well, this was back in the Stone Age. Things had not been codified.
Well, this was the 60s. I mean, I remember when my mom took me to that new store called Kmart, and then Zare and Airway opened up soon afterwards.
Yeah, but this was probably some kind of a mill, a thread mill, cotton mill, something like that,
Mm.
and had been turned into a store later.
Ours is now a church. Ours theirs.
Um, I'm not sure if the one I remember from my childhood, if the building is still standing, because Knoxville has torn down a lot of stuff and
Hmm.
rebuilt a lot of stuff. Um, I When they had the World's Fair there, they screwed up the traffic for years. I mean, no matter what lane you were in, it ended in 50 feet, and it was still 70-mile-an-hour traffic, even though it was posted as 55.
Well, when they created ours, they made a really big deal about it. Cleared out a whole bunch of land. Got this big store for the Zare, and then a whole another line of stores and a big old grocery store on the corner. Walgreen Accounting had their big building there. There's just a church over there now. They're all those buildings are
I
standing
wish
empty.
I wish I could remember the name of the place that my dad used to take me when tubes were going dead on the TV, and he wanted to fix the TV. It functioned like what we know is a mall now, but it
Hmm.
wasn't called a mall at the time. You you walk in, there's this electronic shop. This is, I want to say, pre-Radio Shack, but it probably wasn't. There probably did exist Radio Shack at the time of some kind of description, but it was an electronic shop. They had a tube testing machine, and you walk up and plug in the dead tube, and it turn it on, and whatever parts go, it tells you exactly which tube you need to buy to get your black and white 16-inch TV to work again. 16-inch, probably 12-inch, or your once color TVs were invented, and I'm actually
Wow.
old enough to remember when nobody had color TVs except the rich folks. Um, but a few steps further on, there was this endless wall of hardback books. And I looked and I looked and I looked, and naturally I was totally fascinated by books. They had Tom Swift Jr. books, and I'd get 2 or 3 every time Dad took me shopping.
That's
He'd
nice.
just go pick out what you want, boy, and I did. Uh, Rick
I don't
Grant.
remember, Chris.
Uh, ah, you're right. You're right. Let me
It might
ponder
have
on that.
been. Um,
I think it was a blue jackety sort of sun thing. I think, but
I don't remember.
I
By the
really don't.
way, Radio Shack was founded in 1921 in Boston. So
It
that might have
was
been
Could have been then, and I just didn't know it.
the Zaire
Um,
logo was an asterisk.
asterisk. Well, that's
So
kind of a half circle sun.
so there is an asterisk with the word Zaire in it. You saw it as red. You also saw it as black, but you also sometimes saw it as a red asterisk and a big white Zaire.
hmm,
Now
nope.
Zaire's bought out Venture in our area.
Okay.
I used to go spend a part of my paycheck on Legos at Venture.
Venture here
Yeah.
was just right across from, but as the crow flies, it was closed before I moved here, but it was literally 3/4 of a mile from where I live.
Yeah.
Well,
I miss
one-
the old Kmart too, Chris, but probably for a different reason than you do.
And because you guys made me think about old malls and stuff, I was just looking up Hot Sam. I miss Hot Sam's.
never heard of that one.
They were a pretzel maker.
Oh, okay.
And you can get them pretzel on a stick, or you can just get them, pretzel on a piece of paper. But they had the one I usually went back and forth between was a mustard pretzel, which they basically just took the hot pretzel, put the salt on it, and you're going in yellow mustard, so there's yellow mustard all over it. They also did that with cheddar cheese, which my sister Brenda liked, but I also liked their pizza pretzel. Was they would do that in marinara, and then they would sprinkle that with Parmesan cheese.
Mm-hmm. Did y'all have a Sky City? In Athens, we did.
Never,
The
nope.
only one I've ever seen. And it was where I got most of the plastic models that I built as a child after we moved to Georgia. Model cars, model airplanes, some boats as well. I remember it really well. I think that's the first place where I realized that the sporting goods section with all the fishing lures, those lures were not meant to catch fish. They were meant to catch fishermen.
So many lures are,
Mm-hmm. And
especially when you get to the really fancy looking torpedoes.
oh yeah, and lots of other things too. But the thing is, Ollie's now in Athens has got a selection of some of these old fishing lures, like my dad had bought back in the day. And I'm just looking at those things. I remember that. It never caught a single fish, but it took up a prominent place of pride in Daddy's tackle box.
Rattle traps.
Oh yeah.
Rattle traps and
All these
poppers.
here, I've been here. I've been
Mhm.
to one. I've been to one. And where I grew up, we had Mida. Probably never heard of that one, have you?
Pomida? Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
We had, it was like Pomida. And to go out, you had to like go. JC, there wasn't a lot of Sears in the area I grew up in, but there was JC Penney, and you would travel for that.
Mhm.
We had a Kmart. And now that's gone. And yeah.
Well, of course Kmart's gone. Did you know Kmart and Sears were owned by the same company?
Yes.
Yes.
And if Sears stuff got delivered to Kmart, they merely clipped off the tags and put the Kmart price tags on them. My mother did that a lot.
And Chris, the Sky City in Athens, that was where I bought some of the first LP albums that I ever owned. I can just about remember which one was it? I think it was a Jethro Tull, and yeah, exactly, Jethro Tull and Led Zeppelin 4. First LP albums I ever owned. Took them home and played them on this little bitty 1950s record player that, it dropped the records from a stack and played them and scratched them all. But, that was the thing at the time. Either that,
Oh,
or
I
I played,
forgot about
or I
record
played them
players that did
on
that.
the little bitty plastic record player that only had one teeny tiny speaker and no headphone jack. And that thing was great. But there was one time we had worn out the needle on the little plastic record player. All three of us kids playing our records, whatever, had worn it out completely. Would not play again. And I discovered you could pop that little sucker out and hold it with a set of tweezers. And super glue had just been invented. And I dribbled a little drop of super glue in there and got one of Mama's emery boards, and I filed that thing down to a fine point, popped it back in. We played our records for a long time with instead of a sapphire needle, it was a super glue needle that I made from scratch. Oh, I bet my brother doesn't even remember that one. And he was my usual partner in crime. I'd think of something and he'd cheer me on while I was doing it. My sister was a little bit more reserved, and she got up to her own stuff, which we usually got the blame for, but because she was innocent. Always.
Oh yeah, they had that in Kmart too, Chris. I remember going back to the pet place.
Oh
to
yeah,
look at 'em.
parakeets and fish. Yeah.
Almost
That
every department store back in the day had at
Yeah.
least fish, parakeets, and rodentia.
Yep.
At the very least, hamsters, gerbils, guinea pigs.
Mhm.
Sometimes they had mice and rats. They didn't always have mice and rats.
I don't remember them having any hamsters and such at Kmart, just the birds and the fish. I had an aquarium in the 60s. It's funny how that didn't come with us when we moved off the farm. But no, my mom worked for 10 years at the
Oh, my
Kmart
God.
here in Danville in the millinery department.
You just made me remember something. Now I'm trying to think of exactly the details. I don't remember whether it was an old store or an old apartment or an old office building. But wherever it was, it had an aquarium. And it had not been taken care of for a long time. The water was opaque green.
Ugh.
And I remember walking up to it going, "Oh, that's so sad. All the fish are gone. All the pretty fish are dead." And then this enormous, for an aquarium, catfish thumped up against the glass, detecting the movement. Still had live catfish in it, even when everything else was dead and full of algae.
Catfish and Plegostomus would be about the only thing. And Oscars. Oscars are impossible to kill. My mom tried. She hated the Oscar that we had. It was mean. It was vicious. It attacked all of her other fish. I accidentally shattered the fish tank, a 55-gallon fish tank one day. So this is back with the dart guns we had back in the 70s and 80s.
Crossman Power Master 760.
The good old fashioned, you push the plastic suction cup dart in it. You pull the trigger on it. You get them for like $1 at the um, the drugstore.
Yeah.
So I always had a supply of those around the house, and we would shoot each other all the time with these dart guns.
No, I can't remember.
Apparently, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Chris asked, did ever have any algae eaters? I was just going. I still cannot remember whether this was a store, an apartment building, or an office that I went into that had this. I mean, if this green had been any greener, if you'd shined an ultraviolet light on it, you probably could have seen it from space.
Yeah, our Plecostomus love algae eater Plecostomus. Love that. But I was shooting at Brenda, my middle sister. And she ducked. And the fish tank was under the stairs right behind where Brenda was hiding. So when she ducked, the dart hit the fish tank. I don't know what had happened to this dart gun over the time that I'd had it. It's one that I'd actually had for a couple of years, but apparently it got stronger as time went on instead of getting weaker as the spring wore out, because that dart hit with just enough force in just the right area that all of a sudden there was a flood under the stairs. Whoosh. My mom was pissed that I broke the fish tank, but she didn't spank me because I also ended up killing the Oscar when that happened. We saved all the other fish, but the Oscar didn't make it.
Silver lining, silver lining.
Oh.
Yep. I don't remember what all fish we had, but I do remember we had, pardon me, a little neon fish. The little brightly colored rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Tetris?
I think that was the other name for him.
You said Tetris, and I'm like, see?
Tetras, not Tetris.
I know. Like, what?
Accents are important.
It's one of those nights, folks.
I will
Get it
learn how to
together.
enunciate one of these days.
But today is
Yeah.
not that day.
That's not going to help her hearing any.
Yeah, true.
I
At least you
Yeah.
heard the R's and was thinking the game instead of missing things, and it almost sounded like Titus or something like that.
True. Yeah, that I think that was their like technical name or scientific name or something, but we just called them neon fish because they were really bright, and you could turn off the room lights, and they'd almost glow in the dark, which is so cool.
Oh yeah, and every department store, if they had an aquarium section,
Nope.
had the
No.
the big fluffy Japanese fighting fish, whatever the name for those things are.
Mm-hmm.
And people would get 2 or 3 and take them home and dump them all in the same aquarium,
Betas.
and then
Yeah.
they'd wind up with one,
They
the
couldn't figure out
alpha
why.
fish. Yeah, and couldn't figure out why. My sister gave me a little bitty aquarium bowl one time. Had a couple of salamanders in it, and had some teeny tiny frogs. And I immediately named them as Huey, Lewis, and the Newts. which shows you how sick and twisted I am. And
I
then,
got my ass beat because of frogs so many times it wasn't funny.
well, the thing is, after about 3 weeks, the lizards started eating the frogs.
I was gonna say, don't they eat those?
They did.
Why
And
were
then
they
I had
in the
I
same
had the bright
thing?
idea. I bought a seashell in Florida and brought it home and dropped it in the aquarium, not realizing that seashells from Florida contain salt.
Ooh,
Freshwater newts do not.
like salt.
Well, they didn't survive very long. So you know, my sister said, "Don't you look this stuff up?" And I go, "I didn't want an aquarium. You gave
When
it to me. You
when
should have given the instructions should have been provided." Um, no, I was young and stupid. That was the only thing. And but
when
then again, that did kill my frogs.
when Richie was itty bitty,
Richie was itty
um,
bitty.
oh yes, I did not come out full size. I was small at
Oh,
one point in time. So this is still when before my parents had sold the house we lived in when I was born, and we moved out to a new location. The fish tanks were downstairs. They had to fasten the lower fish tank's lid shut because Richie would flip open the fish tank and drop my Matchbox cars inside.
That's not as bad as I thought you were gonna say,
That
no,
the
but it's
frog,
adorably cute.
isn't it though?
that the little itty bitty frogs that we had in said fish tank would climb inside the cars. So my parents would fish the cars out, not realizing there's a hitchhiker of an itty bitty frog inside. And then weeks later, coming downstairs without flipping the lights on, with just the background light coming in from street lights and stuff like that, all of a sudden they see movement across the carpet. Like, what the hell is that? It's the
Itty
frog
bitty
that,
frogs.
they're no longer
Abandoned
itty-bitty.
car.
They're no longer itty bitty. They're now, about maybe a half inch or so bigger than they were when they fit inside the Matchbox car because they got out and they got hungry and they ate and they grew. And my parents were like, what the hell? Son of a. So, yeah, they had to fasten the lid down for that. Now, also speaking of itty bitty baby frogs, one thing I love about the complex that we live in, apparently there is enough water in the close area that actually there's a drainage ditch behind some of the buildings here, but we really don't see a lot of water in that retention pond, that drainage ditch that's behind all the buildings and fenced off. But every once in a while, we'll see 20 or 30 itty bitty frogs hopping all around the sidewalk by the front office, or we'll see a couple hopping around by the sidewalk in front of our place and stuff like that. So I just find that just adorable.
And it makes you think of that. Your memory.
Actually, yeah, it does. It's like, Mom if Mom were alive and saw this, she'd be like, "You little son of a, where are your Matchbox cars?"
Mhm.
Now I
One of
thought
the-
you were gonna say that itty bitty Richie would reach in and bring a fish out to pet.
No, the fish were in the top one. The bottom was like snails and frogs and a couple of other things.
Okay.
But they were all really teeny tiny things and stuff like that. And
Until they got let out.
if I would have fit through the lid, I probably would have climbed in the fish tank with the stuff on the bottom. Richie had a that is a really cool looking pocket watch. Anyways, sorry. Little Richie had a very major affinity and love for water. if my parents turned around and they were in the middle of bathing one of the dogs, and they weren't paying attention to where the hell I was, they'd turn back around and I would be in the tub. Which my eldest sister, when she was a little itty bitty baby, if they brought her within distance where she could feel drops of water fall on her from even a sink or a bathtub or anything like that, she would freak the hell out. And then she grew up to love water, which is funny, but it's the fact that she hated water with a passion when she was an itty bitty baby. But for me, I was like, yes, water.
Rich, from hearing other stories about your sisters, this particular one was probably afraid that it was holy water.
She was actually good when I was little. She protected me against Brenda. So this is the eldest sister I'm talking about. She protected me from the middle sister. It wasn't until I became a teenager that the roles kind of reversed as far as that goes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's Brenda who would be afraid of holy water.
Yeah. Even to this day, yeah.
That's why. Didn't they do something in the last season of Buffy or something where they had a priest bless the fire extinguisher system in a building infested by vampires and just pull the handle? All the water was holy water.
I remember in the Canal Reed's Constantine movie, they dropped artifacts in the reservoir that the fire extinguisher or the fire extinguishing system went through, the sprinkler system went through, and then he held a lighter up to that. But honestly, something tickles my memory about I believe his character's name was Xavier. I think his real name is Brendan.
Yeah.
And then he's got a
Xander.
twin. He's got a twin brother that sometimes would stand in for him when he was sick or hurt. But if I recall correctly, he's either dyslexic or has a stutter. I can't remember which. I remember him with a lighter up to
The fire suppression system. Yeah.
But that could also just be years of memory redoubling and insertion. But it sounds like something that they would have wrote in.
It made me think, if you've got access to somebody that can turn ordinary water into holy water, super soakers are your friend. Long distance run around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not original with me. Somebody else pointed it out, and I'm going, that's a good idea. I can't steal it, but I wish I could.
Yeah. I always wondered about the stabbing the vampires because I'm like, you have to get close to stab something. Sure, there's something you could do long distance.
Crossbows are wonderful things.
Fred Saberhagen wrote a series of Dracula novels. In one of them, he invented lead core wooden bullets.
Oh.
Lead core so that they would spin. Wooden to be effective against the vampire.
Okay, who put quarters in the cap?
You did.
I've been sitting here.
Then it had to have been Ted.
No,
Unless they've been putting quarters in each other.
I think they have been.
Oh, it won't open in a separate window.
Hey, Rich.
There we go.
Speaking of cats, words are hard.
I have not had a chance to go out and purchase the clasps to try to put on the end. I've not had a chance to put the second one together. And why am I not finding? Is this it here?
No worries. I was just curious.
Oh no, that
Uh-oh.
is something else. What is that?
I hear. Oh no.
Oh,
What was I doing it with
thank
pink
you.
and black
Dawn.
rings?
I now have a Frank Zappa song. It's stuck in my head. I like Frank Zappa. It's not a complaint. It's not one of the better songs, but you know.
They can't all be gems.
Well, no, some of them are Joe's Garage. That was a stretch, wasn't it, Daniel?
Yeah.
Shut up. Sometimes the voices in my head really piss me off.
They can be annoying.
Well, when I'm not writing, they're not handy. And when I am writing, they tend to run away.
When I'm not writing, they tend to get me in trouble.
So this is Georgette's so far, which is this the one that you're seeing the other night.
Oh no, terrible pun. Is that Georgette's Gorgette?
Oh,
I told you it was a terrible pun.
I know. That's why I didn't say anything. Did you get the pictures that showed like what the?
Yeah,
what
I got those.
colors they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
And now I'm thinking, what would it take to make a gorget for a cat?
Mm-hmm. A lot of fancy aluminum wire.
I would definitely want to have some male gloves before I try to put it on the cat. And maybe a male shirt and my fencing helmet. Which I think my fencing helmet is under the bed.
Carl bought a pair of welding gloves for when we have to hold Calvin to clip his claws.
Uh-huh.
So he brought them down, and I'm like, this is charcoal. We don't need those. So we get her in his office, which outside of the bathrooms is the smallest room in the house. And he managed to come away with only one scratch, but looking at it, she didn't do it. He scratched himself on the underside of the desk.
So, Barry's grandmother, Midnight. I love that cat, but I hated that cat. So we got her with Kisa, Barry's uncle. They were barn cats at my mother-in-law's. She just needed to kind of get rid of them because there was a fox or something coming around taking out the cats. So she wanted them where they would not become victims. So we decided to go ahead and take them in. And at that point in time, Kisa was this itty-bitty fluff ball. You know, right about the time that he should be weaned, that kind of age. So we get Midnight in the house. We release her. She's immediately up on the door jamb and the windowsills, or the window jambs, trying to get out. Like she wouldn't come down. So I was just trying to take her down and let her have anywhere in the house she wanted to go. Just go, you've got places to go. You don't have to stay right here. I grabbed her behind her head where you should be able to grab a cat and it should not be able to turn its neck around or turn its head around and bite you. That bitch had an extra vertebrae or something.
It
Tag
was
me.
possessed.
She is lucky she got me and not Misty or the kids. Had she got Misty or the kids, the cat would have been dead. But she got me. And I'm like, all right, fine. It looked like I had a golf ball under my skin. Like I was trying to smuggle a golf ball in the back of my hand under my skin. Finally got that taken care of. Luckily, it didn't get infected or anything like that because it was a bite. She decided to move behind the stove, which is fine. Then after a couple of weeks, she moved behind the washing machine and the dryer and the water heater. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it got to the point where it was no longer fine. She was knocking off the flex piping to vent the dryer to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, no, we can't do this anymore. So I had an old pair of leather gloves. I'm like, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to wear these this time. And yeah, she still tagged me through the leather gloves, but this time I only got a blood blister. I didn't get a puncture wound.
That's good.
Got her in a cage, got her outside, called animal control. Animal control out where I live is only open 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Good Friday.
I was calling on a Saturday. And they didn't send people out. You had to bring the animal in. I'm like, I'm not keeping this animal in a cage all goddamn weekend. Here's what I'll do. I opened it. I left the cat free. And then what I did is I put a bowl of water outside. And every morning I put a small amount of food out so that I could be sure that the cat was coming for it. And I wasn't just feeding possums and raccoons.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if she comes around, I'll feed her and I'll treat her like an outside cat. Everything's good to go. But I am not going to worry about it if she just fucks off somewhere else.
Yeah.
So she started sticking around again. And then she had another litter behind our shed, which is where Priest, Barry's father, came from. Stormy, Barry's aunt, and another cat that we tried to save, but it passed on. We called him Tripod because when we finally discovered him, he had a broken leg that was broken so bad that the only thing keeping his leg on was just a little bit of flesh. The bone was broken all the way. So we were going to try to take him to the vet the very next day because we actually discovered him on Easter. So we took a little Easter basket outside. We rigged it up so that it would be able to keep him warm and stuff. But it was infested. The wound was infested with vermin. I'm not going to go into details in case people have sensitive stomachs about insects. But we did everything in our power, and because its leg was broken like that, we're like, we see that it's been broken too long. They're going to have to amputate. Maybe we can save the cat. I walked out to go to work the next day. Misty was going to take the cat or the kitten to the emergency vet as soon as it opened up. And the cat was dead in front of my car when I was getting in the car in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we were sad, but the other two kittens survived, and we did our best to sit out there when the food was out there to get the kittens used to us. And then we turned the kittens into inside outside cats. And then Mama Cat still stayed an outside cat. But Priest was very skittish. I was the only person that Priest normally allowed to pick him up. Occasionally, he would let Misty do it. But at first, if Priest was on the couch and you sat on the complete opposite end of the couch, your ass was coming towards the couch and he was gone, even if you weren't anywhere near him. Eventually got to the stage where he would allow you to sit down on the opposite end of the couch as long as you didn't scoot closer to him. But I managed to start scooting closer and closer and closer to him. And then eventually got to the point where I could actually sit down next to him on the couch, give him scritches, and he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else sat any closer than the other end of the couch, he would bolt. So Priest became my boy. I felt so honored, even though I felt like I was dying from food poisoning. I had a bad case of salmonella poisoning from my wife's grandmother not cooking the chicken and dumplings all the way and correctly. I was hallucinating.
Yep.
I
incorrectly. Yeah.
I had better hallucinations on that than from when I tried acid. But I had, for those people who follow the Dresden Files, it's the hallucinations that I had from that food poisoning. It's like I opened up my wizard sight tube. That stuff sticks with me to this day.
Oh.
But I was laying on the couch, sick as all hell. I literally thought I was going to die. This is the only time anyone ever laying on the couch. He stayed on the couch. Actually, he didn't stay on the couch. He wasn't on the couch to begin with. But he came up, he jumped up on the couch and crawled up and snuggled next to me as I was laying sick on the couch that one day. I mean, my wedding day and looking into my firstborn child of my own eyes, freshly after birth, are the only two real things in my life that top that moment.
Because you were chosen. It's amazing when you get chosen by love.
Yeah. I was Priest's human. He got annoyed at me when I took ticks off him because he was, like he said, he was an inside-outside cat, so he got ticks a lot. But afterward, he'd be like,
that.
"You're a jerk. That kind of hurt, but I feel better now. Thank you, jerk."
Yeah.
Oh dear. My batteries are running dry, folks. Let's keep going as long as we can.
And of course, I've got Priest's boy here as my ESA cat. Sadly, Priest is no longer with us. I miss him. He was a good kitty.
Well, Charcoal,
Hello, Kimber.
don't sit beside her. You can stand beside the bed or the chair she's in and pet her, but don't sit beside her. And don't pick her up. She's going to get used to that, though. Because Mama's going to make her a lap cat sooner or later. But she'll look at Calvin and come up for cuddles, and she'll look at Calvin like, "Really? What do you do that for?" See, you could be getting some of this. Oh, hell no. Off she goes.
there's an outside cat, a neighborhood stray that tends to um, come over to my best friend's house a lot, and they'll feed her and stuff like that. They call her Oreo because she's black and white. Um, if there's food involved, she'll let you give her scritches. But the second that the food runs out, and if you're still touching, all of a sudden,
Evolve.
Charcoal's very polite. I don't think she's. Well, I mean, like today when Carl grabbed her and he couldn't figure out where her scruff was to immobilize her, but she never fought and scratched like Calvin would. And Calvin, he scratches when he doesn't mean to. He just gets all excited. I cannot wait for that boy to calm down.
yeah,
You're talking about Calvin or Carl?
Uh,
I didn't hear that.
all the
Are
above.
you talking about Calvin or Carl?
No, Calvin. I don't need Carl to settle down yet. I'm only 66. He needs to. He does just fine.
Kimber just came back here and kind of apologized for jumping through the screen door.
Oh,
He's like, I didn't mean to, Dad. It was an accident.
Well, it was overexcited, is what it was. Wasn't an accident. She meant to jump through the screen door, but she didn't realize that she shouldn't have. So
Oh, she knew she shouldn't have, but just got excited.
yeah. We still don't know what it was on the porch that got her. It wasn't one of the cats, but could have been a possum, could have been a raccoon. There's no food out there, so they wouldn't have stayed anyway. And when you have a 70-pound German Shepherd jumping through a door, you tend to think that retreat is the better part of valor in this instance, and run away, run away.
Run away.
Oh, now Lindsay's probably about to go to bed.
Sorry.
So the dog is probably going to go to bed too. It's still ungodly hot back here, so I've still got the door open. And the attic fan is still on and pulling air in through the open window. What is the humidity? Woof! 76% outside and 65% inside. Everything I own that is actually leather is going to have green mold growing on it tomorrow. This is one of the drawbacks of using something besides an air conditioner to stay cool in Georgia. Humidity gets inside the house.
Would making a cedar lined closet for your leather goods help?
Probably, if I could afford that much cedar. Probably had to go to Israel and saw down a tree. None of them are big enough around here.
When we were looking at houses before we got this one, we looked at this one house, and it had a walk-in closet that was probably as big as this office.
Lined in cedar.
Lined in cedar, cedarwood drawers. I'm looking around this thing going, wow, it smells so good in here.
It was a room-sized cedar chest. Okay, I get the concept. I wish.
Yeah.
I really. Hey, if I had my druthers, the entire inside of the house would be cedar.
Well, we that house was a real contender until we went down in the basement and they opened the door to where the boiler was, and I looked at the boiler, and my first thought was, that sucker's gonna blow up any day now. So I gave up my ideal kitchen for a house that wasn't going to blow up,
Yeah.
and had a lot of extra room on it. We have like 5,000 square feet here.
My entire house is something like 1,100 square feet.
Ours is 625. That doesn't include the basement. They obviously then includes more, but yeah.
I could fit you in my living room.
The thing that
Yeah.
pisses me off the most is the trailer that I sold to be able to buy the house
Hmm.
was 1,200 square feet. And there's a 4,000 square foot house, 2 driveways up the road that I could have bought. But my mother said I had to buy this one for my little brother so he could afford to build his 10,000 square foot palace, or however much it is. I mean, he's got the basement, the top floor. God only knows what he's got under the roof. Probably some hidden rooms because he's got a escape room in the basement that is absolutely, it's granite lined.
Hmm.
And that's next to the game room with the pool table and his drum set and a bunch of other stuff.
Hey!
Are
Sorry,
you-
not you.
Okay. You okay, Don?
There was scratching at one of the bedroom doors. There's people in there, dude.
Well, looking for this place all started when I saw a local funeral home was for sale and made the joke that, oh, wouldn't want to buy Barrick and Sons, would you? And he's like, well, if you did that, then the outside cats could come in. And I'm like, what? Unfortunately, we couldn't buy it. No one would loan us money because nobody would live in a funeral parlor.
Except you.
Unlike the Barracks have for like 3 generations. I mean, we had a plan. We were going to live on the top floor and put businesses. We were going to have our own cigar shop, but that place had a 6-car garage, a 2-car garage, 7 furnaces. 2 of the rooms had fireplaces in them. Yeah, it was perfect. So after that, we got an agent, and every time she'd show us something, I'd go, "It's not big enough."
Jesus.
And she was showing us some pretty good sized houses, and she'd look at me like, "Really?" And I'm like, yeah, "It's not big enough." So then she's like, "Well, I have this open house. Why don't you come look at that?" And that was this house. And like, okay, you finally found one big enough. Let's talk money.
We got a place not far away from here, within about 3 miles, 4 miles at the most. It was constructed as a funeral home with a crematorium.
Hmm.
There was such an outcry about the crematorium that the funeral home went out of business.
What Nobody using the crematorium, or
Oh no. People were going, we don't want dead bodies smoke in our atmosphere that we gotta breathe and it's gonna settle on our house and all that. Reduce
crying out loud.
our property values, not. And now, once the funeral home went out of business, it is now a church.
Hmm.
And I'm going, Southern Baptist Church. It used to be a crematorium. This gives a whole new spin on hellfire and brimstone
Yeah.
sermons right
Get out,
there.
get out of my head, Dane. I was thinking very similar lines.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Uh,
even
you will put $1 in the collection plate, or we've
You're
got a
gonna
special
burn.
room
We'll
for
take you
you
out back.
downstairs.
well, the ironic thing was the funeral home was only going to sell for 100,000, and we had already had 10,000 for his down payment, so we weren't going to need a $90,000 loan.
Hmm.
And they're like, no. I had one place say there's no way that we do it. Get a house. So, being the smart ass that I am, I went out and picked out 3 houses, all considerably more money than the funeral home. And I called him back and told him about it, and he says, okay, pick one of them. Really? I don't think we've been here 5 years. Um, the people who bought the funeral home after us did exactly what we were planning on doing.
Hmm.
They're living upstairs and they've got a business in the bottom. I had 3 vendors ready to move into the one store I was going to have. I had one of the smaller rooms, I had a local psychologist willing to rent that room for an office. And nobody would listen to my business plan. And we had to choose, in order to apply for a loan, you had to choose either a home loan or a business loan. You couldn't do both.
Mm.
And if you did one, you couldn't do the other. Like, really?
Oh yeah. That would play hell with some of the folks around here that they have a house and land and get one of those um, little portable buildings and have it set up, have everything wired in and whatnot, and it's either a uh, a hairdresser salon or barber shop or some other small business, and that I'm going, well, you know what Donna's talking about is under one roof instead of separately insured outbuildings.
Mm-hmm.
This certainly would have been more like a going concern. I mean, because of the stigma of it having been a funeral home. Yeah. Um,
I know people who live in old funeral homes just as houses.
well,
Don't even have a business in them. What's wrong?
here,
Oh, and they'd left a gurney downstairs in the basement in the prep room, and we're like, oh yeah, Halloween.
all we need is a stainless steel table and some flashing lights.
That's what this gurney was.
Uh huh.
Uh-huh.
Um, now there are a lot of places down here that in the 15 and 1600s were plantation houses. And believe it or
Mhm.
not, those are stigmatized so much that until recently, when the realtors decided we don't care about the history anymore because we can make some big money off of these 50-room houses. Used to be you could get a plantation house and a few acres of land on what used to be a slave plantation growing
Mhm.
cotton and whatnot for cheap because the stigma reduced the price. What happened to you was the stigma eliminated any possibility of purchase because of what it used to be, and now it's a selling point that raises the price. Yeah, the people that built this house owned 5,000 people, and we're willing to charge you $100,000 for each one of those people that you knew were owned by the family that built this house. And it's 200 years old, and you're going to have central heating put in yourself because there ain't nothing here to keep it warm in the summer, in the winter, and cool in the summer, except for the screened-in porch that wraps all the way around the house.
Mhm.
I've actually heard people give this sales pitch, and I'm going, no, this ain't sanity. This ain't sanity at all.
No.
This is real estate, which, as a lot of people have found out in the last 20 years, has absolutely no connection to reality whatsoever. Um,
Yeah.
that's why up the street they build 2 and 3 story homes with less quality than I had in my trailer and charge $500,000 for 8 rooms on spread out over 2 stories and a tenth of an acre lot with somebody else right next to you with a damn near identical McMansion. Um, and the people that bought the property and built the houses and sold the houses made bunches of money. But the only people that are making any money now that these houses have been built, sold, and inhabited is the county with property tax. Because they can take $250,000 McMansion and within 5 years, it's taxed at several $1 million. Several million. Not
So
necessarily under 10.
I
And
don't
its
know.
actual worth is about 30,000.
I don't know if I've gone into the whole spiel with what's going on with my dad's place right now. So there is a realtor that lives across the lake from my dad's place. He actually knew my dad. He actually drank on my dad's back porch. Real nice guy. Met with them. It was both the longest and shortest 2 hours I'd spent in my life.
Mm.
I didn't realize that it had gone so long, but we talked so long. I'm like, we've had to have been here for a lot longer than I thought. And we were actually there for a lot shorter time than I thought. But across the lake from Dad's house, there is a 6,000 square foot home going for $1.1 million. There's a person that wanted to buy that house for 600,000 because they're like, we just want the lot basically, so we'll give you $600,000 for it. We'll tear the place down and build our brand new home. I'm thinking, it's an all brick construction home with a pool, indoor pool inside the house, and you're only wanting to offer $600,000 for it. You're not going to find a 6,000 square foot home for just $600K. Not going to happen.
No.
So the realtor is wanting us to try to get the house ready to show those people possibly, because if they're wanting to basically pay $600,000 for a lot, they don't care about the structure. They care about going, yeah, this will do. I can do this. I can do that. Yeah, we can situate the house, XYZ type of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane. Like I said, it's $1.1 million home across the lake, and someone's like, "Yeah, I'll just give you $600,000 for it." Dude, you're barely offering more than 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But we're going to tear the house down and build our own. We don't
Yeah.
need the house. We just want the land.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the people are like, "Yeah, but we need to put that money towards
Another
a
place.
home we're going to buy. We're not going to take a $500,000 loss, on our home. But yeah, and it's weird when you say it that way, that someone's going to take a $500,000 loss on a home for taking $600,000 for the home.
Yep.
I feel like you gave me fair market value for the house itself, but then I'll sell it to you. I'm not selling you a lot. I'm selling you a house with a lot.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care what you want it for. We want what we put into it for.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hoping to go ahead and get that taken care of. So I've got to contact some places to talk to them about how much it's going to cost to get crap out of the house, because we're almost done getting all the stuff we want and or need out of the house. There's still some stuff down in my dad's room. There's still some stuff I need to go through of my own stuff. And then there's a couple of other things here or there. But
Richie, there's an obvious solution to this, and you're not going to like it. You'll get a laugh out of it, but you're not going to like it.
all right.
You could sell your mom and dad's videotape collection to finance everything else. It's not YouTube friendly, but I'm evil. I'm sorry.
Here you are. And that's why we love you, Dan.
Oh my God.
What's this videotape? Is that mom? Why is she? Is that dad? Oh no! Oh God, no!
No, the most astounding and mind blowing thing is this was panned and zoomed in days before automatic cameras were invented.
Yeah, angle changes and stuff like that. And the thing is, it took me years later to think back on it and go, there was zoom. There was angle changes. Mom and dad weren't the only people in the room.
This was performance art.
Hell, maybe that's why my oldest sister is so pissed off about it. Maybe she had to be the camera person.
Ask her. at a Thanksgiving. Ask her at the table at a Thanksgiving dinner. Put her on the spot. I mean, swear. Ah, okay. I've already established I'm totally evil.
Little 12-year-old Sheila.
No one
Mom,
else would
Dad?
think of these things but me. Uh, oh,
Oh, Lord.
I don't have a paper cat's chance in hell, do I?
Get on the bus.
Get on it,
And,
hell, they told me I had to drive.
oh
Um,
no.
Get out of my head, Dan, because I was going like, get on the bus. Who's driving? What the hell are you talking about?
oh, uh, oh,
Get on
uh,
the party bus to hell.
I finally told my mom I wanted the family home and that 12 acres of land with dad's woodworking shop. And my brother and sister can have the other part of the 68 acres. Um, okay, subtract 12, you know exactly how much the other is. Um, and my sister and my sister-in-law can turn all of that into McMansions if they want to. I want the original family. I started to say family plot. Uh, I probably got
You'll
a
be
couple.
getting that one.
I probably got a couple of square feet of that one already. Um,
You're
but
not that short.
yeah, well, head first or standing up. Um,
Anyway,
hell, all I
what'd
can
she
say
say?
is an urn don't take up that much room. She was surprised that any of us want to keep
The house?
the family uh, farm and keep it from being turned into
See,
a McMansion factory, basically.
that's why
Uh,
you got to talk to people. And tell them.
well,
Nobody mentioned it, so she thought you weren't interested.
with my mom, she rarely ever listens to anything anybody says. She just decides what you want beforehand, and you really have to drive your point home in order to go. No, mom, no, and I'm going. Uh, there's enough room in that house for all of my bookshelves
And more.
and more, and a complete machine shop with machines, bandsaws, uh, lathes, uh, edgers, planers. I mean, Dad spared no expense, and Mom even bought a shopsmith, which is a multi-use tool that can be a drill press and a lathe, depending on whether or not you got it standing upright or laying on its side. And I'm going, do you realize how much money I could make building cabinets and stuff for people's houses? I've got the skill. Dad taught me how to do this. Um, or I could just, you know, make my own.
Hmm.
I've made some beautiful stuff with just scrap wood and a few things bought from Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever to dress it up a bit. I could actually have turned myself into a cabinet maker at one time if I had turned my hand to that direction rather than the word processor.
All right. I'm going to preface this with this.
Uh-oh.
Mhm.
Okay. It's going to be
Listening, but
good.
I'm not. I'm scared to look up.
He held up his not the green room sign.
Um,
Okay.
I enjoy trying to find the best way to phrase this that will cause the least amount of people choking on things. Bad choice of words. Bad choice of words because I am talking about wood and playing with wood or working with wood. Fuck,
You're working with
You
I've,
failed.
I've said it both ways, so to hell with it. I've always enjoyed working with wood and stuff like that. I'm not good at it because I don't have the space to properly practice it.
Not saying anything. We're not saying a word.
Hey,
Yeah, but you're thinking it really hard. I can hear the thought from here. And I don't even have StreamYard up so I can see.
Hey, nobody said a word. I'll tell you that right now.
But it is very relaxing. Again, bad choice of words, considering the subject. And considering earlier I was talking about big dicks, salty nuts. But I've always enjoyed carpentry. Yeah, better. I've always enjoyed carpentry.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been really good at it because I don't have a workshop that I get to go and
Yeah.
get
It does
better
make a
at the
difference.
practice. All my stuff looks very 12-year-old woodshop ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
remedial kind of
Hmm.
beginner,
Yeah, exactly.
amateur.
Well,
Carl does very well with carpentry. He built a 10-foot tall media shelf for us at the old place. Had to leave it there because it was so big.
you
And
couldn't get it out through the doors.
No, because it was up to the ceiling and about 6 foot wide, and only so deep. Because, like I say, it was mainly for back then VHS.
Well,
But
back then you built stuff to last.
Mm-hmm.
You're not building stuff to go. Well, in a few more years, we might change places, so I might want to make this modular so I can break it down.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with a lot of stuff that my dad built. I mean, it's been torn out over the years because 10 years later they're like, why the crap do we have this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then there was the fact that it was a little heavy and it fell over. And fortunately, I had I think it was a stationary bike at the time that it fell on, so it didn't smash poor dear Loki. scared the crap out of her, but so
Ruined
after
the
that,
stationary bike, I bet. But
Ruined the carpet, more than likely, where the cat was standing.
that'll put a spot on the
so
front seat.
then he fastened it to the wall really well.
Mm-hmm.
So we left it behind, and then when we made this one down here, he discovered the boards at Menards, which had the little holes in them already. So once you put the shelves together, you can the outside.
Yeah, the frame.
Thank you. You could put the shelves in. You could have maybe one shelf only this tall, the next one this tall, and they could be arranged however your books were. Uh, he made it, and he made a brace on the back, and then he got really smart because we have wainscoting
Oh yes.
all through the bottom floor.
That's one of the things I'm going to have to do here.
which means the bookshelves were this far away from the shelf. And especially on the top shelf, if I tried to get one, push it through and it'd fall down. And then you'd have to move books in order to get the book that fell down. So he took the shelves and took another little shelf and put on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And that not only kept the books from coming down, but that added more stability to these because
Yeah,
these are
yeah.
like
It
10 or
had
12 foot tall.
not only vertical stability, but horizontal.
Hmm.
And actually, if you do it right, it has cross angle
Hmm.
stability. I don't know the correct term for that, but
Well, he put some braces, cross
it
braces
it
on
it
the
doesn't
midway.
wind up going and leaning to one side.
Oh, like the first one did before he figured all this out.
Hmm.
Triangles are the perfect shape for engineering.
The
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we
Buckminster
have
Fuller proved that one. Yes.
two, four, six. We have seven of them, and you can buy them at Menards. You can get them. These he got these in white, but you can get them in like maple or cherry.
Hmm.
The whites were cheaper, and we just mortgaged a house, so white it is.
Well, and I do need to explain that not only the job that financed my college education was a woodworking shop. One of my PE, no, one of my art classes in college was a woodworking shop, and it came under the heading of sculpture. Um, that plus everything that Dad taught me, I've got a fairly firm grasp of cabinet making and bookshelf building and whatnot. And I've even built some of my own furniture. Um, the uh, the dining room table and bench seats were made from scrap wood, and they were unsanded, unfinished for many, many years. After I got married to Lindsay, she wanted everything sanded down and stained, and I did a deluxe job on it. You cannot tell that this stuff was built by a talentless amateur. Um, it looks like something that you would pay lots of money for at some boutique shop.
Richie
Some
go boom.
uh well, ooh no ooh yeah uh excuse me, um off in left field. You don't need to know that. That there were recreational uses for some of the furniture. Yes. Um,
Well, we only have a couple minutes left anyway.
good because it's going to take me a long time to find a ladder deep and long enough to crawl out of that hole. Um,
Is that you, Donna?
Huh?
Is that you
It's
making all them siren noises?
Oh, the sirens, yes. It's better than it was earlier. Earlier today,
mm,
the cops and the ambulances were just crazy during the storm, which I imagine when the power went out, a lot of alarms went off.
Oh,
yeah.
I can imagine.
Well, it's a work day tomorrow, so we are 30 seconds out. Um, I'm sorry,
I read
Rich.
wherever you ended up.
Yep, I'm sorry, Richie had to duck out here when we're having to end the show. Um, thank y'all for being here. Richie, thank you for being here.
I mean, Rich,
Carl,
you're being mean.
Carl, thank you for watching tomorrow. Anybody else is dumb enough to watch this stuff. I hope we entertained you. If we didn't, why were you watching to start with? You knew what you were getting into. You knew what it was going to be before you even clicked.
And if you didn't, you got into
Really,
a trap.
now you know, and you won't waste next Thursday night or next Sunday morning watching again. Anyway, if you did enjoy it, like, share, subscribe, all that YouTube algorithm stuff. And basically, somebody got a comment here I didn't see. Okay.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Me and Rich.
But let's tell the bedtime story, and I'll run my commercial afterwards, and then I will try my best to get sleepy so I can wake up at 6 a.m. and it's already 1. So, good night, everybody, and thank you all for being here. Love you. Thank you so much for choosing to spend time with a rabidly foolish old man. We will pretty much. Oh, no, not the intro, you idiot. This is
Night,
what I do when I'm editing stuff. No, not that. This. No, not this. All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night, guys.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.